This is the Filmy McFilm Film Show. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe.
I don't know when it came out in 1999, I think, off the top of my head. I don't know if a lot of people knew about it when it came out, but I heard basically that, obviously, let's be honest, it's ripping off Star Trek.
Yeah, it was poking fun at Star Trek.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Star Trek, but Star Trek's one of those things where, kind of like with Star Wars, and to a lesser extent Lord of the Rings, they're so big and such like a cultural phenomenon, and they get referenced in so many other stuff where you can enjoy someone doing a parody of it without even actually having to have seen the films, and you'll know a certain amount of stuff about it without ever having to actually watch it.
Yeah, so this came out and not a lot of people knew about it, but somehow it got to the Star Trek cast, and Patrick Stewart at the time was like, nope, I refuse to see it.
Really?
Yeah, and then one of the other...
Well, he was offended?
No, he was kind of like offended, and then one of the other cast were like, no, you need to go and watch this. And apparently, when he went to go and watch it in a full cinema, he was crying and laughing.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, it's basically like, well, the show's called Galaxy Quest, isn't it? Like,
yeah, so it's a parody. It's sort of a parody of Star Trek in the sense that it's a show from the 80s that has now been cancelled.
Yeah.
But the cast from it are basically making ends meet by going to conventions, doing special guest appearances. They're all washed up. All their parts were so iconic that they've never really got work afterwards.
Yeah.
And they basically hate the place they're in. Except for Tim Allen, who was the star of the show, and everyone else, all the other cast and crew are always jealous of him because he gets to get all the glory at all these conventions, even though he doesn't give a shit about the fans. And that's how the movie starts off. But then they're met by a group of aliens called, what are they called again? The Thermians?
Yeah, something weird like that, yeah.
Who have been picking up on their satellites, they've been picking up the transmissions of their programs, and they mistake them for historical documents.
Yeah.
So they believe they actually are the bravest adventurers in the universe.
Yeah.
So when they're under attack from an evil alien species, they request their help.
Yeah, it's kind of great because there's so many like weirdos at this. It
starts off at a convention.
Yeah, it starts off at a convention. Tim Allen's character, Jason Naismith, is running late. It seems.
And who's he playing the fake show?
I think that's him, Jason.
No, that's who he is. But what's his Captain Falco?
Yeah, something weird. He's running late. Everyone's pissed off. Alan Rickman's character, I don't even know how they got him to do this film first and foremost, but he's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, he plays the only alien on the crew, or the only one that looks like an alien.
He
is just grotesque, man. He's got like this sort of weird
prosthetic
inside out vagina on his head,
and
he just looks disgusting. And you can tell, I'm pretty sure he's based on C-3PO, or the actor who played him, because he was notorious for hating the convention circuits and the idea of it, and he saw himself as a real thespian. Yeah, and he looked down on whoever that dwarf actor was that played R2-D2.
Yeah,
because he was always trying to convince C-3PO guy to do the convention tours with him, because obviously you don't want just R2-D2, you want the two together, and he would always refuse to do it and really look down on it. So I'm pretty sure he was sort of supposed to be based on that. And clearly Tim Allen was supposed to be based on William Shatner.
Yeah. So it starts off at a convention, he's turning up late. He's fuming, Alan Rickman's character, looking in the mirror going, I used to do Richard the First. And having his mental breakdown, as he seems to have mostly every week they do this thing. Quite good casting as well with the lady. Sigourney Weaver.
Do you know what's funny?
Ripley, basically.
Yes, legendary for a lot of movies, but mainly for Alien franchise, obviously. But people always used to. I love Sigourney Weaver as an actress, and she's one of definitely the original genuine badass chick. Like sometimes there's like especially because there's more of them nowadays, but sometimes Scarlett Johansson playing Black Widow is fine because that's like a cartoon sort of superhero movie. But when a woman is sort of playing a role where she's just a normal woman, but she's a badass and she's taking charge and beating the shit out of people, I usually find it hard to find it convincing. And she is the number one you believe.
Yeah.
In all her movies, and the Alien movies especially, she is the best person. She would take charge and you would let her take the lead with it. But I always used to hear people say how sexy she was, and I always just didn't see it. Like, obviously she's not a bad looking woman, but I was always like, no, not really. But in this movie, holy shit, man, with that blonde wig.
They kind of turned it round on the head, because obviously she was a badass chick in other ones. And in this,
she's a sweetheart.
In this, she's kind of like the eye candy, and they just talk about basically her breasts and stuff.
Well, I think it was again. It's like it's hard because I've not seen Star Trek, but because of the kind of movie it is, you can tell where they're making nods to Star Trek. Yeah. Just everything basically is a nod to Star Trek, and you could tell she was a parody of all those female characters where they did nothing. Like her role on the ship was to repeat what the computer said. Immediately after, like she was just redundant.
It's getting annoying.
And throughout the whole movie, you start to see her boobs coming out more and more for it, which is obviously great.
It gets ripped. So basically, they're at this conference, doing their classic stuff. Alan Rickman wants to run away. They stop him. Then they go into it, and I think Tim Allen's character kind of like goes into the toilet, and then these kind of like two guys come along like, what losers.
Which
like,
also was based on a true story, apparently. That actually happened to Shatner at an actual convention in the 80s at some point, or maybe earlier than that.
So were they all being like, oh, what a dickhead he is?
like something
and
along the lines.
Everyone loves him, basically.
Yeah, because he was supposed to be a real prick, apparently, on set.
Right.
Like, actors hated him.
Oh, right, I didn't know that. I to be honest, I don't like Star Trek at all.
I've just never watched it. It's one of those ones where even when you're a film and sort of TV nerd and you watch it all, I just still won't go there for some reason. I don't know why. It's probably good, but I just can't start watching it. Something about it just feels like a step too far.
I think it's you're Star Wars or Star Trek, or
I don't know. No, I don't think so. I don't think like it's like an Apple versus Android thing like that back in the day. But then again, I don't know. But it just feels like that's like Star Wars is anyone loves Star Wars.
Yeah.
People we know who generally don't like nerdy stuff. Like, nerdy stuff isn't really even a thing anymore. Like, Marvel is the biggest thing on the planet as a franchise, and Star Wars is huge and accepted. Star Trek, I feel like, still isn't. The new Star Trek movies that came out kind of were. They were good.
Yeah.
People that wouldn't, like, I would watch it and like it. My brother, who really would have no tolerance for sort of movies like that, or things that are considered nerdy, watched it and liked it. But that's it. That's the only other thing of Star Trek that's kind of been socially acceptable.
I think I watched the first one because Chris Pine's in it. I thought that was pretty decent. Like,
I really like that one.
Because he's not like, correct me if I'm wrong, he's like the son of one of them or something. Or
no, it was just like a reboot of the franchise.
Yeah, because his dad was like a really legendary.
Oh, from he was the son of an actor.
No, I mean like in this Star Trek film, obviously he's what do you call the main guy in Star Trek? Pritchard or something.
No, you're talking about
Picard.
There's different ones. William Shatner played Captain Kirk.
Right. And what was Chris Pine's character in the
Chris Pine was Captain Kirk.
Yeah, well, no, what I was getting at, in this origin story, which it was, the reboot, he wasn't a legend then, he made himself a legend later on. Apparently, if you watch the film again, Captain Kirk's dad was like a legendary star pilot or something, and they're like, you're just a layabout.
Yeah, well, he was supposed to be a dipshit. And, yeah, I liked it. I thought it was good.
I didn't watch.
And the casting was good. It was. It had that geezer that was in Heroes as that.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember his name. For Spock. See, this is where we run into trouble because we really don't know like the references and stuff. But we're not talking about Star Trek. We're talking about Galaxy Quest and talking about like Star Trek fans and all that because it's more. The film is more about that. The whole because essentially the aliens' mistake in mistaking the actors for their real character. The aliens make the mistake that the actors portraying the characters are actually the characters themselves and actually live that life. And that's foreshadowed and parodied in the conventions where you have these line of nerds who are huge fans of the TV show and they're taking it seriously and they act as if it is real. Like they ask these inane questions of like, How did the proton laser work if you just dropped it and it was malfunctioning a minute before and the actors don't give a crap about the show. No. They don't remember any of these details and they don't know what they're talking about. And I loved... Because I'd never seen... was your pick and you loved this movie. I'd never seen it before. And I was going with it for like the first 5-10 minutes. But when I got on board with it was the first time I proper... belly rolled laughing with Justin Long. He goes up to Tim Allen and he's asking him like he's saying, I have this specific conundrum I want to ask you about, and Tim Allen just fobs him off and walks away and you see him like downtrodden going, I didn't even get to the main thing, my conundrum.
No, he turns up but this is just when Tim Allen's character has come out of the toilet and found out that they just like cussing him, so he storms off after. He turns up, he goes, me and our star crew are having a debate about something. We hope you can help us, Captain. And he's just like, it's a TV show. And like a lot of people in these conventions, I honestly believe they think it's real.
And I was so happy that, because the other biggest laugh of the movie, for me, came from Justin Long again, even though he doesn't show up for another probably an hour into the movie. And he ends up playing an important role in it, but he calls Tim Allen is calling him for help with the fight against the evil alien race about an hour later in the movie, and he somehow, I don't even know, he phones Justin Long's character, and Justin Long starts going into this whole monologue about how he of course he knows that this isn't real, and of course he understands that, and he's not stupid, but he just enjoys it, blah, blah, blah. And then Tim Allen cuts him off and says, it is all real. And he goes, I knew it!
No, that
was brilliant. And that was his debut as well.
There's more laughs later with him. He's like the funniest.
He's so funny. But yeah, sorry, they meet the Thermians, or whatever they're called. I'm going to call them Thermians just for the sake of the podcast. So he meets the Thermians, and I actually did, because I knew roughly what happened, but I genuinely didn't realise they were the aliens, even though rewatching it, I rewatched it just before the podcast. It's pretty obvious. I'm actually pretty stupid. Maybe I was distracted.
Because
it's just the way, the nature of the movie and the way they speak and the way it sort of sets it up.
They're just like, oh!
I love, honestly. Because once Tim Allen then, he thinks he's been hired by them for a convention, but then they actually bring him up into space, and he is in charge of these very important negotiations with this evil alien overlord. And it's where you first get to properly meet these Thermians, these nice aliens that have picked him up, and they have modelled their entire civilization on the TV show. Yeah. So they've actually built a replica of the spaceship. All the buttons and stuff are in the same, based off the TV show or the historical documents, as they call them. And I loved the setup of the aliens. The aliens look like bizarre pasty humans with terrible John the Beatles haircuts. But they're using, what do they call it? Visual transponder or something like that, which makes them appear human, but you see them for a brief moment throughout the movie, and they're actually like
squids,
these kind of bizarre squid-like monsters. But I just love the idea that they're so immediately likable. Like, they're so dopey and stupid, and they have no concept of lying, and they're always like eager to please the crew because they look up to them so much.
Well, I kind of have to comment on a bit before they get to the ship, because Tim Allen goes off. He's pissed off and gets absolutely hammered. And they find him on the ground, like they found his house. and like they get him a limo, and he gets walked up to the ship, but he's just so hungover.
Just before that as well, I love the girl alien, the girl Thermonite.
Oh yeah.
Where they're all chatting in the limousine.
Oh, that's funny.
And Tim Allen asks, "Why does she not speak? Like, why is she not getting involved?" And they explain that her translator is not working.
Yeah.
And she just lets out this bizarre
He just goes
bizarre language.
He just goes right.
This weird like scream. Yeah, go.
So they get up to he gets up to the ship, and he's like, he just thinks it's like another convention because he's just.
And he's sort of like giving them like the nod of approval, like, well, like, this is really. He thinks they've sort of like constructed it in their their garage or something.
It's just a garage and some walls.
Yeah, and he's sort of like nodding like, wow, it's pretty good. And the makeup, and I got to agree as well. The makeup on the main villain, Sarius, is the costume design is so good.
Yeah,
and apparently I was reading up somewhere that when the features are moving, like the mouth is moving, and the little flares of the nostrils and the winks, that is not animatronics. It's actually the suit, the way the mask was designed to fit the actor's face. There'd be points that would touch different points of muscles on his face, and it would move to that. Yeah. So that is the actor's performance coming through when you see it. Wow. It's really impressive, isn't it?
I thought it was a robot, man.
I thought for sure it was like when they would go to close-ups for talking, it would be a different. It would be a mechanical head as opposed to the other shots where it's walking around. But no, it's the actor's performance actually coming through the suit.
Yeah. So they go up to the ship. He's like, "Fuck it, I'm hungover." I think he says at one point, like, "Could I have some paracetamol?"
Yeah, and he's interrupting this evil galactic overlord.
He's just like, "Let's wrap this up, like fire all the."
And I just love how they're like such dopey idiots. Yeah, they're so like they will take him absolutely at his word. Like they brought him in to negotiate, and he immediately just says open fire.
Yeah.
And they just go along with it. And then they just assume, like, well, I guess that's solved it.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't possibly get anything wrong. So they say goodbye to him, and he
goes back.
And it's when he finally teleports back to Earth, because the spaceship sort of opens, and it was a really convoluted way to teleport, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He gets covered in some sort of weird bubble, and then flies through a wormhole, and the whole back of the spaceship has to open up.
Yeah. And then he goes back to Earth by a swimming pool. And then he goes to fight these lot, and he's running late again. But this time he's got a valid excuse, and they're basically outside a car showmanship. Basically like, "Buy Gladivar's hammer," and this is so embarrassing.
I can't believe the saving.
Yeah.
So good.
But he says it in the classic Adam Rickman, like, "I can't."
Sigourney Weaver's elbow him in the ribs saying,
"I can't believe these savings." And then they don't believe him, obviously. And then No, they meet Justin Long again. Like Justin Long's running about.
Is he there again?
Yeah.
Oh, he is. And he fobs him off again. Yeah. But what I liked about this bit because sometimes with movies like this, you have the main actor spend too long in the sort of I don't believe what's happening stage of the movie. But what I loved about this is the other actors, the other members of the crew, of the cast of the Galaxy Quest, the show and the movie, they serve as that point. Tim Allen at this point is you in the movie, where he's just like, I love this and I want to go up into this spaceship and I'm going to trick everyone else to come with me.
Yeah.
And he just immediately thinks it's great. He loves that aliens exist. He wants to hang out with them. So he tries to convince the crew to come with him, the cast, and they're not having it. They obviously don't believe it. They're like, what are you talking about? So but then they think about it, and they think, he's just probably off his face drunk or on drugs.
Yeah.
This is just another job.
Yeah.
And they don't, because they're all, they're doing these conventions because they're desperate. They washed up actors, don't get any work anymore. So they all run over and find one of the aliens and say, if you're doing it with him, you've got to do it with us. You've got to hire all of us. Yeah. So they get teleported up to the spaceship, and this part of the movie onwards for me was when I didn't even notice God, what's his name? Sam Rockwell.
Oh, Sam Rockwell.
I didn't even notice it was Sam Rockwell up until this point. And then he nearly takes over the movie for me from this point onwards, because he is so funny playing Guy.
Before that, you see when they're going through the warehouse to like teleport up?
Oh, yeah.
He's kind of like chatting up a chick.
Oh,
and he's like, but I thought you had a boyfriend. And then they just like grab him, like, because he's such a scumbag. Like,
I just love, because his character, I'm guessing in the show, I don't know, I guess this was a thing in Star Trek, but his character in the show is sort of
an extra.
He's sort of a glorified extra. He's basically the cannon fodder that is there to die.
Yeah.
Just because someone has to die, but they can't be important, and he is constantly referenced throughout the movie. Whenever once they're with the aliens, and whenever they're going on quests or in any moment of danger, he starts freaking out because he's like, "I'm sure I'm gonna die. Like I'm the one who's gonna die. No one knows my last name." And Sigourney Weaver, when something happens at one point as they're running away, Sigourney Weaver actually says, let's run away before something kills Guy.
Yeah. And they're always going like, no, there's one funny bit when they're on that other planet and he's like, let's do the thing of Series 7, episode 81. And he's like, but that's the one I died.
Because obviously the crew at first are freaking out and they want to go home, but they quickly... I can't remember if it's because Sarius invades the ship, or it quickly becomes apparent that they can't leave and they kind of just assume their roles. And the whole ship is designed exactly as it was, not only in terms of looks, but the pilot from the show, when he would be stationed in his point and he would just be pressing random blue buttons to move the ship, they've designed the piloting to look like that. So they just slip back into their roles and did the things they used to do on the show, and it actually pilots the ship and does the things that they need to do. So they have to just assume that position and start doing it, and they get into negotiations with Sarius, and Tim Allen's got that great bit where he tries to like be the captain and take charge of the situation, and he says he gestures to Sigourney Weaver's character to kill the transmission or kill the feed so that he can. And he starts saying Cyrus is an idiot, he's dumber than he looks, do this, do that, do this big plan. And then he realises she didn't kill the feed and he's behind him.
And he's like, I gave you the gesture. And she's like, I thought you said we were going to die. I was agreeing with you. But what made me laugh is just like, there's so many like little funny like one-liners in it. Like,
really.
Do you know when like the guy that pilots the ship like kind of like moves it about and pilots it, the kind of like guy that was a kid in the show. They see him and they're like, oh my, how you have grown.
Honestly, the best bit in it is the aliens, because you can't describe, it's not even the lines, it's the way they say certain things.
Yeah.
And the gestures they pull and the little like tips of their head. And it's good when you see them as their real alien form. Yeah. That is how they move, so it kind of makes sense how their movements are translated into these human movements.
Basically, this has become like a sort of cult classic on the levels of like... I wouldn't say on the
Was it a failure when in the cinemas?
I'm not... I would like to look into that. In fact, I should have looked into that before. But I don't think it was that popular. It's only got popular later on.
Yeah, because I was wondering when I was watching it how big the budget was. Because I was looking at the effects, like the suit. The suit for Sarius is brilliant and elaborate, but it's kind of, because of the type of film it is, it's allowed to look a bit cartoonish. It's intentional. So it looks good in that context. You wouldn't be like, wow, that looks like a living, breathing thing, necessarily. But even like the CGI bits, like when you first see the Thermians in their real form, where they're like those bizarre squid type things. Is that CG or
I think that must be
practical
CG.
Effects? I couldn't tell. I think it must be a mixture of the two, but I was looking at it being like, that still looks really good. Yeah. Like it looks, it's a cartoony sort of alien, but it looks fantastic still.
But there's some people now that go to Comic-Con as these characters.
Really, yeah.
And a lot of them go as the aliens.
Because the aliens are good.
Yeah, they dress all pale with
I really like all the alien designs.
And do you know one of those aliens? I thought I recognised him, but I was trying to work out because I watched this documentary.
What, the alien you recognise?
No, you know the characters that
the
historical
Thermians. Yeah.
One of them is, you know, in the office.
I know you're going to say that guy from the office.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, all of them are it's that guy. People, you know, like the people you would like Dwight from the office. You only know because he got a big.
You can kind of tell it's him.
He got a job in a sitcom, but everyone, like that girl, you know, the girl who's the girl Thermonite who, eventually gets with the curly haired guy from Monk.
Yeah. Oh, Monk. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what any other show that guy's ever been in. She is another one of. She is in probably 300 movies a year. Like, she's in everything as bit parts. You know her face. You recognise her from loads of stuff.
No, because her face is like really pale and shit, man.
Yeah, but like it's nearly like the shape of her head.
I know.
Like, she's one of those people where you'd never know her name. She's barely even a supporting actor half the time. She's in like everything, and all of them are recognisable.
But the thing is, I don't know about you, but like, when did Toy Story come out?
Toy Story came out in 1994, I think.
Because, like, it's like, every time I just can't distinguish. I know he's been in loads of shit, but every time, like, I listen to it, I just think Tim Allen, Buzz Lightyear, like, every time he's speaking.
Yeah.
Which isn't a, like, bad thing.
It's a shame, because Tim Allen, you forget he was a pretty big...
Home Improvement.
Yeah. I guess you'd call him a star.
Thing.
I don't know if he was... Actually, he was in huge movies.
Yeah.
He's so good. But yeah, so they get to the... They have to escape Sirius. They get to the rock planet. And they crash land because some convoluted thing of they have to...
Oh no!
They have to find an energy source for their... what runs their engine.
They get absolutely...
They get hammered.
Shot up by Cyrus, don't they? And they fly... They somehow fly through a minefield.
Yeah, it was what was it? Some sort of like space minefield. Yeah, it looks like an asteroid belt, but made up of mines.
And then the poor pilot's going through it, and all the mines are going into it. And then Alan Rickman just goes, "Could you try for once not to fly directly?" And he goes, "They're magnetic."
Alan Rickman's character's so good in it because he's such a spiteful cunt, and there's a really good rivalry throughout it. Between him and Tim Allen's character, his captain, because he feels like he gets all the glory, which he always does, and he sort of sees himself as like this thespian who appreciates the art of acting, and Tim Allen's just sort of like an idiot who plays himself and never acted a day in his life.
So they get to the rock planet because basically what's happened, the thing that powers the ship,
they've got the
is
shit
destroyed. So they try and get that.
So they land on this planet to look for it, and they come across these weird alien baby
midget things,
and they look all lovely and nice at first. And guys, and they're nearly Sigourney Weaver's sort of like, "Oh, let's go over and pet them."
There's one with like a limp or something, and she's like, "Oh."
Yeah, but that's before because guy starts screaming, being like, "No, this is how I'm gonna die. I know it." This we always think it's nice on the show, and then they always turn out to be horrible, and I die. Yeah, so they start running away from the aliens. These little alien fellas, and they end up... I can't even remember what happens, but they make it back to the ship, but Tim Allen's character gets left behind. Yeah,
so they get like that little ball of energy thing, they're rolling it along, get back to the ship, and then doesn't Alan, they get into a fight or something, and he doesn't want to get on, or...
I think he just can't get on. I can't remember exactly.
I think the ball of energy or whatever you call it is taking up too much space, so he can't get on.
Oh, okay.
So he's like, "You always want to be the hero," and they start fighting, and then he falls off.
So he gets left behind, and he gets knocked out. I liked as well the baby aliens was when they found Tim Allen, they were looking at him all confused and saying in their own language, "He looks like a baby."
Yeah. And then they hit him with a rock and say, "Let's."
They knock him out, and they have him to. They say they're going to eat him, but it seems like they're sacrificing him to this giant rock monster.
Yeah.
And this rock monster ends up being sort of a mainstay. He comes up a couple of times
more in
the film, but he's probably the worst looking special effect in the movie.
It's bad, yeah.
It's fine for what it's supposed to be, but it's not. It just it's the only bit of CG in it that looks clunky.
Yeah.
It probably, to be fair, it probably looks as good as the baby aliens, but for some reason the baby aliens just work better. But yeah, so Tim Allen is trying to fight / run away from this giant rock monster whilst chatting to the crew, and they're trying to advise him from the ship on how to fight it.
Firstly, there's like this kind of like pig kind of thing that you actually think is the monster, but it doesn't turn out to be.
Oh, yeah. It's like a cross between a pig and a piranha or something.
Yeah, kind of thing, yeah. And then he's kind of like fending out.
No, sorry, yeah, because I missed the whole funny bit. They use the teleporter. Basically, the aliens the Thermites who have built this ship to resemble exactly the ship from the show, have never used the teleporter before, so they don't even know if it works. So they try it first of all on this pig piranha monster that Tim Allen wakes up next to, and they bring it into the ship, and it's like that scene out of The Fly where the teleporter goes wrong and the little baboon's inside out. It's like horrifically inside out.
And then they're on the walkie-talkie things, and he can hear it. He's like, what's going on?
And they're like, nothing.
It's exploded.
And then the Thermite's like, it's inside out. Yeah. And then it explodes, and then it exploded.
Oh, that was so funny. So basically, he's fighting this rock monster, and they're like, all they can really do is refer back to the show. They're like, hit its weak spot, hit it in the neck, hit it in the eye.
Yeah,
it's a rock. It doesn't have it in there. So Monk, I don't know.
So every little character has
their little thing.
They have their own little character arc that relates sort of to their character they played in the show.
Yeah.
And the guy from Monk, who's sort of like just a different idiot.
Yeah, he's kind of like...
he was the one bit of the cast that I didn't like that much.
Yeah, I think...
He was okay.
I think he's kind of like a lower deck kind of...
It was a style of comedy. Just a little bit. I don't know. But he doesn't believe in himself because everyone's urging him to use the teleporter to try and save Tim Allen and bring him back up to the ship. And he doesn't want the responsibility of potentially turning Tim Allen inside out and making him explode. But Tim Allen tells him, "I believe in you," and he has this little speech down the megaphone, down the whatever.
Walkie-talkie.
Communication.
Yeah.
And he gives him the confidence to give it a go, and he presses the buttons just like he did in the show in the exact order, and they zap Tim Allen back up to the ship. Not inside out.
Not inside out, but shirtless.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I see you managed to lose your top. Alan Rickman.
So then we get into the last act, and Zarius... I feel like we're saying his name different every time. Something like that. Cyrus. He comes aboard the ship.
Black.
And this is when the Thermites, whatever they're called, they discover that the crew have been lying to them, or they at least didn't tell them their mistake when they mistook them, because they showed the historical documents of the show to Sarius, and Sarius who's seemingly a lot more street savvy and understands these things. Yeah. He immediately starts cracking up and explains to them where they've gone wrong. Yeah, and the look on their little faces.
Yeah, because it's probably good to point out that earlier on they were talking about. They kind of like alluded to it when Sigourney Weaver was like, computer, say this and say that, and they were like, do you know about like people not telling the truth and stuff like that? And then Malthazar was like, we've only just learned of this from Sirius.
It's so great the way the performance as well.
Yeah.
I cannot believe it.
Yeah. But you could never do anything like this.
No.
Yeah.
Also, this is a random tangent, but you know the chick Thermonite who ends up getting off with the guy from Monk?
Yeah.
For some reason, the moment I saw her on screen, I was like, oh, like, it's not... you could pretty much predict she is gonna end up with one of the crew. Just by knowing movies. But I just knew immediately she was going to end up with that character specifically. I don't know why, I could just tell.
Yeah, I think they gave each other like some glances.
No, but I mean the moment I saw her, I just knew she was going to end up with that. So, I don't know, maybe I did watch the movie years ago. But anyway, so She's great as well. Like, you know the scene when she's getting off of him and the tentacles start coming up the back?
And then Sam was like,
he's all grossed out, and the guy from Monk sort of sees the tentacle and just thinks, oh, fuck it, and he goes for it anyway.
He's like, oh, God.
I never fancy that particular actress in any other role, but for some reason there's that weird alien thing.
That and
I actually really fancy her. Sigourney Weaver's like next level.
Actually, in this film.
Sigourney Weaver's next level in this movie, but I would have been right with the little monk fella.
Yeah.
I was with him.
Right. So Cyrus is trying to get this Omega. What do you call it?
So, they board the ship. He wants the Omega, whatever it is called, Omega 13 or whatever it's called, and I'm guessing it's something that was in the show, and they built it, but it doesn't actually mean anything. And the cast admit, like, we don't know what it does. Like, we have no idea. I guess it wasn't ever written. But once he knows that they're frauds, he sets the ship to self-destruct, and Tim Allen and Sigourney Weaver go off on a mission to try and stop the ship from self-destructing. So they have to go on this elaborate mission into the core. Meanwhile, the others are trying to save the Thermians, who have all been locked in a room and they're slowly suffocating.
Yeah.
And Cyrus is gone, and he's left a few of his men on the ship.
Yeah.
But to finish the job, but he's gone off onto his ship to fly off. So, because Tim Allen and Sigourney Weaver obviously have no idea how to get through the ship, he calls Justin Long's character.
Yeah.
Because he knows every step of the way. And Justin Long ends up calling all his nerdy friends because they have different information on different parts of the ship and different knowledge of the show. And they start helping them from afar.
Justin Long, the little nerd, gets up like a blueprint of the whole ship and he's like, go through this.
And I love the intersections bits where he's helping them on the phone, but then it intercuts with him, like his mum coming in being like, telling them to take out the bin.
Yeah, his mum's like, take the garbage out, blah blah blah, and he's like, Mother, you do not understand what I'm doing. She's just like, oh, he's being a little nerdy bastard.
Yeah, she takes no notice. He's like he's so sincere about it all.
Because he must do this like every weekend.
I know, it's so funny. Because I feel like if you were that sort of nerdy Star Trek fan, you wouldn't. I don't feel like you'd be insulted by this. It's pretty affectionate.
I reckon. Like, what do you reckon they do? Say we go to do you want to go to a pub or a gig? Do you reckon they just apart from these Comic Cons, meet up at for a drink and episode 81?
Well, to be fair, I mean, they would probably look at it. I'd imagine anyway. They probably think, well, you watch football and show up to the matches and you buy the shirts as if you play, even though you're not a player.
That is true.
It's still more nerdy, but it's their thing, isn't it?
Well, I was reading something earlier on the subject of nerds. You know Henry Cavill?
Yeah.
He once nearly missed an audition for Superman because he was playing World of Warcraft. He turned up late. That is pretty surprising. He's a proper nerd, proper nerd, man.
What is World of Warcraft exactly?
It's basically...
I'm sorry, I know. It's the one where you paint the models and stuff, isn't it?
No, that's Warhammer.
Okay, what
World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft, the video game.
South Park.
Yeah.
Out of it when he shit in his mum's face.
No, I did know that. Sorry, I did know that. I was confusing it with Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, but out of all of those, that Warhammer one's the worst.
Is it?
Yeah, because me and my dad's done it twice.
Did you?
Painted.
Your dad?
I don't know.
Oh, sorry, you're talking about the little model one.
Yeah.
No. I'll tell a lie. Actually, I did the Lord of the Rings one. I remember when I was 10.
That one was quite sick actually. But when there used to be one in Enfield Town. Remember that Games Workshop?
Yeah, that was just up the road.
You go in there, and the way you play it is you roll the dice. You've got all the models painted. And then it's all spotty people with ponytails, watching it, sweating, and you've got a long ruler. Like a red stick, and then when you roll the dice, so you get a 6, you can move one of your models an inch or 2 inches, and then when you finally clash into them, one model has 2 power, the other has 3, and then that you take him off the board.
It's funny though, like you know how like you don't do certain things because of you don't want to be associated with it, which is kind of like cowardly in a way, but
a lot of people play Dungeons and Dragons.
Because I remember I just he was painting a little model like I was 10 or 11 or whatever when it came out, but it was the people like the sort of culture, the perception of the people that do that, which is what put me off doing stuff like that sometimes. I
actually thought the models were really cool
because it's kind of, what's the word, conceited. Is that it? Where I wouldn't. Oh, here's sorry. We got the movie on in the background, and the scene just came up when he's getting off with the alien woman. I actually fancy her. She. This is the only role I've ever seen her in where she.
I don't think I've ever had a hobby on that level. What I did used to do, which could be considered nerdy, do you know, like those like corgi kind of like James Bond recreation cars.
Okay.
Like, basically, I thought they were always pretty cool. Like, I used to go to toy shops to, like, find all different ones. And, like, you know, like, some of them are really cool. Like, you're not really supposed to get them out of the box.
Yeah.
But they used to shoot missiles out of them.
You actually got to have a certain level of self-confidence and, you know, self-acceptance to really just, like, embrace certain, like, if you like something, you should just do it.
Yeah, because I even have quite a cool, like, do you know, the DeLorean from Back to the Future, like a proper model of it with like all the capacitor, and I was going to build shelves and put them in my room, but
you nerd.
Yeah, I know,
but anyway, no, that sounds alright. Capacitor. You lost me at capacitor. No, that sounds pretty cool. But but that is the thing, because sometimes when you see like Comic-Con and, you know, you see clips of it and people are going around dressed up, as much as like I don't want to do that, to be honest, but
would you do it just for like?
I'd go to Comic-Con just for an experience. Like,
would you dress up?
No.
No, you have to.
But the thing is, here's where it's different. Then I would dress up to go to the darts. Like the darts, you know, in the UK is a thing where you don't really go for the darts. You go and half the people are in fancy dress and they're getting drunk and chants and singing songs and you're having banter between the stands and the tables. But why is that okay? To be honest, but it's seen as weird at a comic book convention or whatever you call it.
If it was a rule that you had to go Comic-Con to get in, you had to dress up, who would you go as?
Same thing I used to do for Halloween, where I'm Clark Kent, and because basically all I have to do is I wear a suit and I still look good, but I have a couple of buttons undone and I wear a Superman t-shirt.
Because I would how lazy I am.
What?
I'm just thinking, these buildings are massive, innit? So I'll just go as like, I'll just pop like a bald kind of prosthetic wig on, get a wheelchair, and be Professor X.
That'd be pretty good.
And then you'd have to wheel me around the whole
Yeah, that's pretty smart. Yeah, that's really good, actually.
I wouldn't have to walk nowhere. I'd be like, you have to...
And potentially... You'd skip all the lines and stuff.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Like, I could be like, I'll bring my actual blue badge and be like, I'm actually disabled.
Yeah, I'm not this disabled in real life, but I am technically disabled.
I would go as that, to be fair.
That's really smart. Yeah, do you know what? My one was pretty non-committal. I'd go, if I was actually going to do it, I'd go the full way and... I don't know, Gears of War would be pretty cool.
That would be cool. I know we're off on a tangent, so I'll say one more thing. Now, we're kind of on the subject
we are, because we're talking about...
We're kind of on the
fandom,
subject
and that's what the movie is about.
But, you know they do like these...
And we've got to fill out an hour.
Yeah, you know they do these, like, gaming events, like E3, where they reveal, like, loads of new games and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Basically, Insomniac Games, who've done, like, the most two recent Spider-Man games, which were really, really good, actually.
Okay.
Because I've got the new one on my PS5, and when you're swinging around New York, because on the PS5 the controllers, it kind of like, it's feedback, it kind of moves when you're doing stuff. It's kind of like vibrates in your hand, which is really cool. So if you hit a building, it goes like shh. They're doing, but by the maker of those games, they released this teaser trailer. They're doing a Wolverine one, and it looks fucking class. He's like sitting in a bar with a whiskey, and there's the back of his head, and he's got like a cowboy hat on, and behind him it pans back. There's like loads of bodies all over the floor. One guy gets up, flicks out a knife, goes towards him, and he just cuts to his hand, and it just goes shh, and then just stops. It's such a sick trailer, man.
And this is a trailer for a game, is it?
Yeah, Wolverine game. I think
that sounds
that'd be
pretty
sick, man.
So, if there was no such thing as like judgment, do you what sort like do you think you'd be more inclined to like go do stuff associated with being a Trekkie? Say no, I don't mean Star Trek, but that level of fandom, doing that sort of stuff, like hobbies you'd have openly.
To be honest, no. Like, I just don't really... I'm just not really... I mean, I like Star Wars, but I'm not going to be obsessed with it. And I've never liked Star Trek. I don't think there's...
I suppose football's your fandom, isn't it?
I don't really think there's one thing like... I know people are kind of obsessed with Game of Thrones. I mean, I liked Game of Thrones, but I'm not going to go mad about it.
Never watched it.
I don't really have, you know, an obsession, like... Comic books I've never read.
I don't have an obsession with a thing. I have an obsession with movies.
Football's mine.
Especially since lockdown. Shouldn't really say this with my job. Well, I'm still working, but I can watch 2 movies a day minimum.
Yeah.
During the day, like I probably watch 12 movies a week now. I watch a lot, probably more to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, especially if a hangover day, with like me and Sol had a hangover day the other Sunday.
I could easily watch 5.
I think we watched 7. No, that's too much. But 5 or 6 movies.
So could I.
Maybe more. Because it's all we did. We just had a load of snacks and
you wake up about, I don't know, you kind of like open your eyes at like 10 a.m. You're like,
we actually woke up pretty early as well. I think that's how we got through so many.
You're like, just stick a film on. Sometimes films that you have to like really think a lot. I can't do on.
Do you do this as well? You know, when you're having a movie binge, because a lot of people they're kind of the remit that, let's have something light because we just watched something heavy, or let's have a horror movie because we just watched a comedy. I never end up doing that. I tend to like have a trend of a day. Like the Sunday I was just talking about recently where it was a hangover day and we watched like 6 movies. They were all kind of in the same vein. Like it started with Spotlight in the morning and it was all kind of real life scandal movies.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Like where you're coming from.
There was one about the 2008 financial crisis.
Was that The Post? Or I bet that was in it.
No, I can't actually even remember them now. A lot of them now thinking about it, but it was kind of like
Spotlight again.
Spotlight is the one about the Boston newspaper that ended up exposing the Catholic
that's the one I meant with
scandal.
Tom Hanks in it.
Yeah, the Post. No, it doesn't have Tom Hanks. The Post is
It's a different one.
Is that Spielberg movie? I never actually saw it. Is it
Yeah,
good?
they're so similar.
Do you know what's weird? Going off on a tangent of a tangent of a tangent is Spielberg movies of the past 10 or so years. They're kind of. They don't even look bad. I just haven't watched them. Like, I just don't... There's something about them. Like, there was that Bridge of Spies as well, which is probably really good, but I just... There's something about it. It's
Did
just
he do
not...
Lincoln as well?
Yeah, I didn't watch Lincoln. I'm sure they're very good, but there's something about them, they just don't excite me. I don't see the trailer or the promotion and think, I want to see that, even though it's a Spielberg movie.
I didn't mind that Super 8 one.
Super 8 was J.J. Abrams.
But didn't he like produce it?
Yeah, he might have. It felt like sort of Spielberg like
wannabe
Spielberg.
It
was good. Yeah, it was alright.
Yeah. No, he done that. I swear he done that Ready Player one.
Yeah,
I never saw that.
It's pretty good.
I never saw that.
It's good. It's worth watching. It's decent.
Actually, I'll give that a go then. No, I don't really, on a hangover day, I don't really have anything in mind. I just kind of look at all the various streaming services I have, and I have loads. So I flick between Now TV, Amazon, Disney, Netflix, and I kind of think, to be honest, I normally start off with a comedy because I always feel like really depressed after I've had a very heavy night. Yeah. And I'm like, I really want to laugh.
Do you go through sort of periods of watching a different sort of movie? Because right now, the past 2 months, I've pretty much been solely watching 80s horror movies.
To be honest, this is going to sound very nerdy and it might go... I wouldn't call myself in a fandom, but every so often, and this is going to sound quite nerdy, I watch all the Harry Potter films back to back. No, I just do like.
I mean, they're some of the biggest selling movies ever. They obviously have massive.
And like, it's one of the ones where you don't really know the story anyway, so you're kind of like watching it in the background, but you're like,
That's another. Do you ever have just a sort of prejudice against a type of movie? Because for some reason, I even read all the books except for the last one because I was kind of just at the age where I didn't really care about stuff like that anymore. Well, I just didn't like Harry Potter, so I didn't read the last one. But I read all the books, really liked them. Just never watched a movie past the first one. I
didn't mind the movies, to be honest.
Oh, well, I didn't even say. There was just something about it. I was just like, I don't want to ever see a Harry Potter movie.
But you know Christopher Columbus?
I was even on the set of the last one, do you remember?
Yeah, he directed Home Alone as well, didn't he?
Sorry,
who is Columbus?
In relation to what?
He directed a few of the Harry Potter films.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was kind
the
of
director of Home Alone. I thought it was. Oh, John Hughes only wrote.
Yeah, he was kind of like a perfect
Home
choice
Alone.
for the early Harry Potter films. If you think about it, directing Home Alone, that kind of like him finding out he's a wizard, kind of.
It's interesting, I suppose, how you would go through the gears. You'd want different directors because the movies are literally aimed at they're about kids that young, so they have to be kind of more childlike.
Yeah.
In their appeal, and then they have to get darker and more adult as it goes along.
And then he kind of like nailed. I think he directed. I don't know. Whoever directed the first one, which I think was him, he kind of nailed like the Christmas bit of it when it's in the snow and stuff like that. And just, like, running about. So that was kind of like the perfect choice. Another thing that I kind of binge watch on. Not the Hobbit ones, but sometimes on a weekend I'll just think, right, I'm gonna watch Fellowship tonight, and then Saturday I'll watch Two Towers, and then Sunday I'll watch Return of the King.
Do you know, I used to, because I feel like Lord of the Rings.
I love them, man.
It was I guess Harry Potter was the other one, but Lord of the Rings was like our Star Wars, where it was the big deal trilogy that came out while we were young. So it has a different place, obviously. And I actually haven't rewatched any of those films in about 12 or 13 years, because I have that scary feeling of I don't want to watch them now as an adult and not like them.
No, they never.
Or just find it.
They never lose their appeal, man. Yeah.
But anyway, back to Galaxy Quest.
So where did we get to? We talked a good 15 minutes there.
Well, we don't need to hear every little note, but the heart of what happens is that they managed to turn off the self-destruct button, but it stops at 1 second, which apparently is something that would always happen in Star Trek. And I got the feeling that it didn't specifically say, but I got the feeling that the Thermians actually designed it so that it doesn't actually self-destruct anyway. It always stops at 1 second, no matter what. So I have a feeling their whole little mission was for nothing. But they've managed to knock out all of the evil alien race that boarded their ship.
Yeah.
Zarius has come aboard again without them knowing, and while they're all celebrating, thinking they've saved the day and all this, Zarius comes aboard and he pretends to be one of the crew members, and he shoots every single person, except for Guy, which I thought was hilarious. But yeah, so he shoots everyone and he kills. Basically, they're all dying. Sigourney Weaver's dead. Guy's like fine. He's just standing there. The young pilot's dead, and Tim Allen's character's dying, and he remembers that the Justin Long's character said to him that no one knows what the Omega 13 device does, but he thinks it turns time back 13 seconds. So Tim Allen's character gets to it, hits it, they go back 13 seconds, and he's just in time to wrestle Zarius to the floor as he comes in with the laser gun.
Yes.
Before he can shoot anyone. And then at that exact second, they crash into the convention they were supposed to already be at and are late for. And the spaceship crashes through half the building, and they come out on stage.
Yeah, and they just finish the stunt.
And
what an entrance!
The audience start going crazy and clapping and loving it, and they all crawl out of the wreckage one by one. Like scarred and covered in dust and all confused.
What made me laugh just before this, obviously Tim Allen and Weaver, were doing their mission to like stop the
Yeah.
self-destruct, Rickman's trying to stop them from suffocating, which he does by himself. And then he goes in and they're like, oh, the captain has saved us.
Yeah. He thinks he's finally going to get his applause, and they're all
And
just
he's like,
loving Tim Allen.
typical. Oh, that cracked me up.
It is
so
good how
funny,
he's just the second best at the very end.
Yeah. So they're in the convention, and Cyrus is on board as well.
Yeah, and also just going back to Justin Long's characters again, and all his little nerd friends that helped out. It's just really nice how, like, that's what I mean. Where I don't think if you were a Star Trek convention sort of nerd, you would love this movie. Like, you wouldn't feel it's poking fun. It's playing with it, but it's all affectionate.
Yeah, it's not taking the piss.
Like, whoever wrote this and made it clearly loved Star Trek and loved Star Trek fans. And it's really nice because when they crawl out of the ship and the convention's all there, he gives Justin Long character he gives him the little chest salute, and he gives it to him back, and you can tell it means the world to him. And then he gets off with Sigourney Weaver in front of everyone, which is quality. Sigourney Weaver, that blonde. I'm surprised, honestly, she didn't stay blonde after this.
I wonder how old she is in this. She must be in her 40s.
She looks amazing.
I know.
However old she is. Yeah, and then there's one last bit where Zarius pops out, still not completely dead.
Yeah.
And they shoot him with the ray gun and he explodes, and the whole crowd goes wild.
Actually, this is basically the end scene that they've remade it. And this is the bit that makes me laugh. The looks they give to the camera.
Yeah, they relaunched the show. Yeah, it's running through the opening credits where it like has all their stupid little shots of the camera.
But in terms of ranking, before we wrap this up, I would say like the people who stole the show. Well, a guy, Justin Long, definitely.
Justin Long, absolutely.
Like
all of the Thermionites.
When he's gathering the fireworks to like kind of like direct them to landing, and they're like, what are you? They're reading their paper in the living room. Like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, they're gonna crash land, and it's
he's like, the transponder configurator is out of whack, which as you can imagine would probably cause a little trouble coming into overdrive.
Then it's a 7, and then the dad's just like, oh.
The dad, you can tell that the dad is just like, oh.
And then the mum's like, at least he's outside.
Justin Long was brilliant. All of the Thermionites, like the way they moved, their voices and their weird little accents and affectations.
Even Cyrus, it was good. Like, do you know what I mean?
Sarah, whatever his name was, he was like that was brilliant. Like, like he was, as a generic space bad guy, he was he was hilarious and funny. Tim Allen was really fun. All the cast of Galaxy Quest, as in the show within the movie. They were all really good. They all had their little mini character arcs that was related to their characters in the show. Compared with who they were in real life. And it's just a great concept done perfectly. And it's funny because you kind of forget that sometimes the funnest movies, like it's nice when a comedy like that is a PG. Because apparently the original, it was going to be an 18.
Really?
It'd be really violent, really gory, have lots of sex scenes.
Nah, that would have been shit.
Well, it would have. I mean, you never know. Like the alternative universe where we're reviewing that movie, we might be saying it's great for different reasons. But for me, it's a movie it's the kind of movie where it's should be goofy. You should have like a smile on your face throughout the whole thing. Like it's the kind of movie where not only is it okay for certain things to be predictable, you want certain things to be predictable.
Yeah, because
I want to know from the first 5 minutes. Okay, Tim Allen's eventually going to get with Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah.
And Goof, the curly head geezer from Monk, he's going to get with the little Thermite alien, and everything's going to be great. And actually, a couple of the Thermionites died, though. I was quite sad about that.
Yeah, I was going to
say,
say, the one that Alan Rickman is.
Yeah, where he's Alan Rickman's biggest fan. Yeah, he keeps saying the catchphrase.
Because the way I remembered it, which when I saw it when I was really young. When they done the 13-second thing, they somehow saved him, but I got that.
No, he dies way.
I got that wrong the whole time.
Yeah,
he dies the whole time. That was sad. But in other news, one of the biggest nerds in the whole of Hollywood, Simon Pegg,
All right.
is apparently looking into making a Galaxy Quest TV series.
Really?
Yeah.
Because apparently they were always talking about doing a sequel to the movie, but it's 20 years later and Alan Rickman's sadly dead, so assuming it's not happening. But it's gonna be. But wait, so it's gonna be a TV series, but is it gonna be a TV series of Galaxy Quest?
I don't know.
The show in the movie?
No one knows.
Or Galaxy Quest as it is.
It might be like a TV series of actual Galaxy Quest as in the TV show.
That could be great.
Yeah.
That's something I could see that on Netflix for some reason.
It doesn't really tell you, like it's saying
it's gotta be the way the movie
it can't be
works.
this now. Like,
well, it could easily be that. It could be that concept, but just changed up.
Yeah. So that would be pretty good. I reckon Simon.
If they get it right,
I reckon Simon Pegg's a massive fan of this one.
Yeah, he would. Yeah, I could. Yeah, that's safe hands to put it.
Yeah. But I've seen this. I must have seen this film at least 7 times.
Really, yeah. It's definitely going to be on my rotation now. I really loved it, and it's one of those movies I knew I'd like it. People I spoke to whose opinion I rate on movies loved it. I just hadn't got around to seeing it, so I'm glad you finally made me, because it is brilliant. And honestly, the Thermians are some of my favourite characters immediately. Like, I want to watch the way Minions got a spin-off series of franchise from whatever movie the original one was. I want a 24/7 camera just on them.
I would imagine it would be something.
I want Thermite vision.
I would imagine it'd be something like the Coneheads or something.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Coneheads, that's another throwback. Is that a movie? Because that's a movie that always scares... when you watch...
I've never actually
seen if you watch, like, E.T. when you're 5, it could scare you, even though it's not a scary movie. Coneheads, I've never seen again, because I watched it when I was, like, 6 or 7, and it freaked me out. It really scared me.
Or it kind of would be like... You know that weird TV series, Third Rock from the Sun, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's essentially.
Like that.
Yeah, that is kind of like a.
Mate, there's so many of them. Do you remember that stupid one on
John Lithgow?
on ITV. My parents are aliens.
Yeah, I mean that is definitely like not in the same tier.
Yeah, I know. But still, it was quite decent in its own way.
I never really watched it, to be fair, because do you remember they changed out the mum?
They changed out the mum, but the dad's like went on to do really well. He went into like the thick of it and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's one of those. He's a good character actor where he kind of fits a certain profile where he'll never be the star, but he get cast a lot.
Yeah. So, but all in all, I
loved it.
I think Galaxy Quest is just like one of those films that you need in your life.
It's the kind of film
if you're feeling like shit. Like, watch it will cheer you up.
It's the kind of film you want to see more of as well.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, more films like that. Like, I feel like, especially now where... I feel like comedy movies are in a bit of a weird place where studios don't want to make them as much because they're worried about saying the wrong thing or being offensive.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of comedies you can still make. And also, like, it's a PG movie appealing to mass audience, so...
Yeah, to be honest, like, it's... if you break it down, it's not actually that much of an original idea. It's like a spoof or a homage of a TV show. But the way they made it was perfect.
Well, I think execution is a pretty original idea. And it's very meta and it's there's a bunch of layers to it. It's like it's kind of a fun space movie.
Yeah.
But it's also a comedy, and it's also set in the real world context. And it's also doing a parody of a real life subculture that's around sci-fi in general.
It's also
it's a pretty clever movie.
It just gets a lot of things perfectly right. Like the casting is just on the button.
Yeah, it's one of those films where there's a bunch. It's kind of like a joke within a joke within a joke. The whole movie, peppered with little jokes throughout it, and so there's a bunch of ways you can enjoy it.
There's not many films that works for though. Like I don't know. The only thing that I can, which is kind of shit at the same time, but I kind of like scary movies. You know what I mean?
Like, scary movies.
Not the later ones. The original, like the first one when it's taking piss out of like.
Scary Movie, the first one. I mean, again, I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but I like it's a fun spoof movie. But Galaxy Quest is it's better because it's it's not just this is a spoof movie, so spoofy things are going to happen in a spoofy way.
Yeah.
It's still in it makes sense as a narrative, but it's built into it that the opportunity to parody Star Trek fans and Star Trek in general is built into the concept. Do you know what I mean? Like it's built into the fact that they are real life actors, but then these aliens who obviously are an analogy for the fans mistake them for literally being real and treat it as if it's real. So it's not. It's smarter than that. It's like they've come up with such a good premise that you could remake it and do it differently, or do a TV show out of it, because it's the concept that's so clever.
Okay. But overall, I think
Galaxy Quest, 2 thumbs up. Banger.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up. One of my favourite films ever.
Hurry up with that TV show. Someone take.